All right, hey, sixth grade. So we're going to pick back up with the Outsiders where we left off yesterday, and we are really kind of going through and annotating because it's giving you so much information in that first chapter that we really kind of need to record what all's going on. And so just anything that I write down as an annotation, you're gonna need to have as well. And just also anything else that you're thinking of, like a connection, you notice a Larry device, any kind of symbolism, anything that I don't go over, please write that down too. And that way when we're back together on Monday, we can kind of go over your notes. So we're going to pick back up right here on page 3. So we're kind of in that second paragraph here. We've just learned that Ponyboy is basically saying, hey, this is the way things are, you know, soch are soch, greasers are greasers, that's just, you know, the facts of my life. So he is accepting of his situation. It does sound like, though, there's a bit of an internal struggle or internal conflict going on here. And so let's go ahead and make a note of that. Okay, so go ahead and pick up right here. I could have waited to go to the movies until Derry or Soda Pop got off work. They would have gone with me, or driven me there, or walked along, although Soda can't just sit still long enough to enjoy a movie, and they bore Derry to death. Derry thinks his life is enough without inspecting other people's. Or I could have gotten one of the gang to come along, one of the 4 boys Derry and Soda and I have grown up with and consider family. We're almost as close as brothers. When you grow up in a tight-knit neighborhood like ours, you get to know each other real well. If I had thought about it, I could have called Derry and he would have come by on his way home and picked me up. Or Two-Bit Matthews, one of our gang, would have come to get me in his car if I'd asked him. But sometimes I just don't use my head. It drives my brother Derry nuts when I do stuff like that because I'm supposed to be smart. I make good grades and I have a high IQ and everything, but I don't use my head. Besides, I like walking. All right, let's go back to the beginning of that paragraph and make a few notes over some things. So we've kind of learned that there are other members of the so-called gang. And so somebody yesterday made a note that maybe gang meant family. And so he's kind of revealed here that these guys in his gang are family. They may not be blood brothers, but they're definitely brothers from another mother. So as we get introduced to each one of those, we're going to continue to add them to our family tree. So right now we know that one of them is Two-Bit Matthews, and that's really all we know, that his name and the fact that he drives a car, which, you know, being a teenager with wheels is a bonus. Go back to your family tree, and we're going to kind of add him onto one of our branches. So Two-Bit Matthews, hyphenated, 2 T's or 1 T. Okay, so has a car. And we've learned a little bit more about his actual brother. So Soda sounds like he's maybe a little ADHD, that he can't sit still, so I'm going to make a little note of that. And Derry just gets bored to death. You know, Derry's probably so worn out from working that if he sits still very long, he probably ends up just wanting to take a nap. So I guess that kind of reveals why Ponyboy likes to go on his own. All right. Continuing on, on the back he says that he doesn't use his head. He mentions that twice. So the repetition of that is making it important enough to note. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight. I just don't use my head. I don't use my head. And he reveals that, hey, I get good grades. I'm pretty darn smart, but maybe just no common sense. Sounds like he doesn't always think before he acts. Like a lot of you guys. Or maybe like Alex and Avery, who don't always think before they talk. Am I right? I about decided I didn't like it so much, though, when I spotted that red Corvair trailing me. I was almost 2 blocks from home then, so I started walking a little faster. I had never been jumped, but I had seen Johnny after 4 Soch got a hold of him, and it wasn't pretty. Johnny was scared of his own shadow after that. Johnny was 16 then. So we've been introduced to another member of the family, Johnny. And it sounds like Johnny's had a little situation, a little scare with the Soch. You know, 4 up against 1 is just not fighting fair. And if you'll also kind of note the color symbolism of the color red, if I had a red highlighter, I'd probably do something with that right now. I don't have one. So red, what do you remember about the symbolism for red? What's it mean? Where'd she go? Red?
Danger.
Anger? Bloodshed?
Death.
Danger? So, the fact that there is a red car trailing behind him is not telling you, that does not bode well for Ponyboy. So, bloodshed, danger, something's about to go down, and it's not something good. So, this is S.E. Hinton kind of giving us a little message. You know, she could have made the car black, she could have made the car blue, she could have made it any color she wanted to. She chose red to send us, the readers, a message. So, you can tell why he's probably starting to feel a little bit frightened at this point. You know, a lot like Johnny was back then. So I'm going to go ahead and add Johnny to my family tree. We don't know much about him yet other than his age. So if he was 16 back then, it makes it sound like maybe he's 17 now. So I'm just going to put around 17. And I'm going to also add that he's had a run-in with the Soch that really kind of scarred him. I knew it wasn't any use, though, the fast walking. I mean, even before the Corvair pulled up beside me and 5 Soch got out, I got pretty scared. I'm kind of small for 14, even though I have a good build, and those guys were bigger than me. I automatically hitched my thumbs in my jeans and slouched, wondering if I could get away if I made a break for it. I remembered Johnny, his face all cut up and bruised, and I remembered how he had cried when we found him, half conscious, in the corner lot. Johnny had it awful rough at home. It took a lot to make him cry. So we've learned a little bit more about Johnny. You know, it kind of reveals the situation in which he was attacked. And it sounds like he's not just attacked on the streets. It sounds like something's going on with him at home, too. So I'm going to go ahead and, you know, just put, you know, parents abusing him. Question mark. Because I don't know for sure, but it is an inference that we could go ahead and make. So I don't want to add that to the family tree just yet because it's not something that we can verify. I was sweating something fierce, although I was cold. I could feel my palms getting clammy and the perspiration running down my back. I get like that when I'm real scared. I glanced around for a pop bottle or a stick or something. Steve Randall, Soda's best buddy, had once held off 4 guys with a busted pop bottle, but there was nothing. So I stood there like a bump on a log while they surrounded me. I don't use my head. They walked around slowly, silently, smiling. So if you'll kind of look back at that paragraph, you'll see we learned a lot. So we know another one of the family members, Steve Randall, Soda's best friend. We know that the fights with the Soch seem to occur quite often because that's, you know, at least 2 for sure, maybe a third that's about to occur right now. And we also have a couple of devices that you should take note of. So there's a simile. See it? So he stood there like a bump on a log. So what does that mean exactly? If he's just standing there like a bump on a log, it's just a goofy little saying that we have. So he does nothing. He doesn't react. It's like he doesn't know what to do. So there's no reaction. He's just kind of frozen. And they're surrounding him. So if this is Ponyboy standing here, and he's just completely frozen, doesn't know what to do, and we have how many? 5 guys got out. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all surrounding him, and they're walking around. So it's like they're slowly, silently smiling. Oh, listen to that alliteration. Slowly, silently smiling. So if we have alliteration with the S sound, what is that revealing? Any 8th graders out there?
Snakes.
And what are we supposed to think of when we think of that?
Abby.
Snakes. Okay, so again, there's some more symbolism here that danger, evil, not going well for Ponyboy in this moment. So as a reader, you should be worried for him. So I'm worried about what's going to happen, and I know what's going to happen. Because if Johnny was beaten up that badly with 3, 4 Soch against him, and there were 5 up against Ponyboy, and he is younger, and yeah, not a good thing. Hey, Grease, one said in an overly friendly voice. We're going to do you a favor, Greaser. We're going to cut all that long, greasy hair off. He had on a Madras shirt. I could still see it. Blue Madras. One of them laughed and then cussed me out in a low voice. I couldn't think of anything to say. There just isn't a whole lot you can say while waiting to get mugged, so I kept my mouth shut. So even though he says he doesn't think, it sounds like that was probably a pretty smart thing to do in that situation. So for him to think about, there's nothing good I can say, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut, that was a smart choice. So I'm going to say it sounds like he did think about it and made a wise decision here to just be quiet. Y'all are probably wondering right now what Madras is. I doubt that you're familiar with that word. So stop for a second, put me on pause, and look it up. Google it on your phone or something so you can see the picture that goes along with the definition of it. Okay, so write down what it is. That way, you have it in your head. It's going to appear back in the book several different times because the Soch are typically wearing a Madras shirt. So go ahead and write down your definition. Put it in your own words. And then right here where it says that one cussed Ponyboy out, it doesn't actually say what the character said. And so keep in mind, this was written in the 60s. This book is already pushing a lot of boundaries because it's involving gang members. It's not your stereotypical 60s book that has, dogs and ponies and birthday parties and, little kid adventures. This is so different than anything else that had been published at that time. And so to push the boundaries of that and then to add in the profanity, she couldn't do that. And so you're going to see that occur a lot in the book too, where it says they said a bad word, but it doesn't actually say what the bad word is. And so let's just make a note that this was, pushing boundaries already for the 60s just to say somebody cussed. Need a haircut, Greaser? The medium-sized blonde pulled a knife out of his back pocket and flipped the blade open. I finally thought of something to say. No. I was backing up, away from that knife. Of course, I backed right into one of them. They had me down in a second. They had my arms and legs pinned down, and one of them was sitting on my chest with his knees on my elbows. And if you don't think that hurts, you're crazy. I could smell English leather shaving lotion and stale tobacco, and I wondered foolishly if I would suffocate before they did anything. I was so scared so bad I was wishing I would. I fought to get loose and almost did for a second. Then they tightened up on me, and the one on my chest slugged me a couple of times. So I lay still, swearing at them between gasps. A blade was held against my throat. So, kind of a tough situation to be in. I don't know if this was me personally, if I would try to fight back, if I would just lie there. I probably would be swearing at them too, so we have that in common. So just take a second, write down what you think you would do in this situation. If somebody jumps you, knocks you down, it's you against 5 other people, what would be your reaction? Are you going to try to get away? Are you just going to freeze? What are you going to do? So just make a little note off into the side. I appreciate the fact that he shows a little bit of resistance by, kind of defending himself through his words. How'd you like that haircut to be in just below your chin? It occurred to me then that they could kill me. I went wild. I started screaming for soda, dairy, anyone. Someone put his hand over my mouth and I bit it as hard as I could, tasting the blood running through my teeth. I heard a muttered curse and got slugged again, and they were stuffing a handkerchief in my mouth. One of them kept saying, "Shut him up, for Pete's sake, shut him up." Now, keep in mind, this is happening on a street. This could be out in the middle of everybody. And so the fact that they are brazen enough to just knock him down and, pound away at his face, and this is going on, it makes you wonder why are people not saying something? Why are people not stopping? And so remember earlier when it talked about the Soch were able to get away with a lot of things? It sounds like people might be there and seeing it happen, but they're looking the other way. Not cool. Then there were the shouts and the pounding of feet, and the Soch jumped up and left me lying there gasping. I lay there and wondered what in the world was happening. People were jumping over me and running by me, and I was too dazed to figure it out. Then someone had me under the armpits and was hauling me to my feet. It was Derry. Derry's the hero in the situation. He's coming and he saved him just in the nick of time. So Derry must be something if he could scare off 5 Soch all at once. So, what does that say about him? Is he a monster? Does he have backup? It made it sound like almost the police were there and everybody was trying to run to get away, but it's Derry. So he's the hero, just in the nick of time. Remember, keep writing down anything else that you're thinking, any questions you have, anything that I'm not covering that it's in your mind. Put it down on paper too. We'll have a chance to talk about it on Monday. Are you all right, Pony Boy? He was shaking me, and I wish he'd stop. I was dizzy enough anyway. I could tell it was Derry, though, partly because of the voice, and partly because Derry's always rough with me without meaning to be. I'm okay. Quit shaking me, Derry. I'm okay. He stopped instantly. I'm sorry. He wasn't really. Derry isn't ever sorry for anything he does. It seems funny to me that he should look just exactly like my father and act exactly the opposite from him. My father was only 40 when he died, and he looked 25, and a lot of people thought Derry and Dad were brothers instead of father and son, but they only looked alike. My father was never rough with anyone without meaning to be. So the fact that his dad is gone and Derry's had to kind of fill in that void in his life, it sounds like Pony's very resistant to that. It's almost like he's taking it out on Derry when Derry's just doing the right thing. And so part of that's immaturity. He just doesn't understand yet why things are happening. So I'm going to put Dad and Derry. It's kind of like they're almost mirror images of one another, but he loves his dad, and in this moment, he hates everything Derry represents. Derry is 6'2" and broad-shouldered and muscular. He has dark brown hair that kicks out in front and a slight cowlick in the back, just like Dad's, but Derry's eyes are his own. He's got eyes that are like two pieces of pale blue-green ice. They've got a determined set to them, like the rest of him. He looks older than 20, tough, cool, and smart. He would be real handsome if his eyes weren't so cold. He doesn't understand anything that is not plain hard fact, but he uses his head. I'm going to make a little note of that because Pony said 3 different times now, I don't use my head, but Derry does. An interesting thing. So Derry's not a monster. It doesn't sound like by himself he'd be scary enough to, get rid of all those Soch. So there must be something else going on there. Remember before on the first page when Pony Boy admitted to hating all guys with green eyes? And then we find out that Derry has the green eyes. So it could be that because he's so resistant to Derry that he's taking that out on any guy that looks like Derry. So we put Derry equals green equals hate everyone with green eyes. Okay. I sat down again, rubbing my cheek where I'd been slugged the most. Derry jammed his fists in his pockets. They didn't hurt you too bad, did they? They did. I was smarting and aching, and my chest was sore, and I was so nervous my hands were shaking, and I wanted to start bawling. But you just don't say that to Derry. Crazy, crazy run-on. This is how I teach you not to write. But when I read it, did it sound right? This is kind of revealing how Pony Boy feels in this part right here. And so even though the sentence structure is totally off, that's the way it's meant to be. She did it on purpose because it does reveal how Pony Boy feels in that moment, and it sounds perfect. I'm okay. Soda Pop came loping back. By then I'd figured that all the noise I had heard was the gang coming to rescue me. He dropped down beside me, examining my head. You got cut up a little, huh, Pony Boy? I only looked at him blankly. I did? He pulled out a handkerchief, wet the end of it with his tongue, and pressed it gently against the side of my head. You're bleeding like a stuck pig. I am? Look. He showed me the handkerchief redden as if by magic. Did they pull a blade on you? The actions of Soda are not like a typical older brother thing to do. So what role? If Dad is being played by Derry, then who's Soda? He's being the mother figure. He's kind of showing Pony some comfort. So they're really good older brothers to even consider taking on raising a kid like this. I remembered the voice. Need a haircut, greaser? The blade must have slipped while he was trying to shut me up. Yeah. Soda's handsomer than anyone else I know. Not like Derry. Soda's movie star kind of handsome, the kind that people stop on the street to watch go by. He's not as tall as Derry, and he's a little slimmer, but he has a finely drawn, sensitive face that somehow manages to be reckless and thoughtful at the same time. Okay, again, remember, 16-year-old girl wrote this book. So there are times in it when we start reading and think, that is so not what one guy would use to describe another dude. But with this right here, we have got to remember 16-year-old girl. Sometimes she had a hard time keeping her own perspective out of it. So it kind of gets in the way sometimes. He's got dark gold hair that he combs back, long and silky and straight, and in the summer the sun bleaches it to a shiny wheat gold. His eyes are dark brown, lively, dancing, recklessly laughing eyes that can be gentle and sympathetic one moment and blazing with anger the next. He has Dad's eyes, but Soda is one of a kind. He can get drunk in a drag race or dancing without ever getting near alcohol. In our neighborhood, it's rare to find a kid who doesn't drink once in a while, but Soda never touches a drop. He doesn't need to. He gets drunk on just plain living, and he understands everybody. So I'm going to go back to the family tree, and I'm going to just add a note that he lives his life. You know, this is a really exuberant kind of guy. So Soda he gets drunk on life. Okay, so I am actually going to stop there going over this with you. I want you today to continue reading the rest of the chapter, just chapter 1. Do not read ahead over the weekend. I will know if you do, and I will hunt you down, and we'll have an issue. Don't read ahead. Avery, I'm talking to you. Tony? So, you read the rest of this on your own in class today. Continue with your annotations, and we will discuss everything on Monday. Y'all have a great weekend.